of consumer behavior, which basically is presented on your screen. We intend to be looking at how exactly a consumer behaves in the context of the buying decision or the purchase decision that a consumer makes. Of course, we did discuss in our last class the aspects of the key psychological processes that go inside the mind of a consumer when he or she decides to make a purchase decision about a product or a service. Now, these aspects, they basically help in consumer consciousness between the arrival of outside marketing stimuli and the ultimate purchase decision. So technically, these five key psychological processes, which have happened to be motivation, perception, learning, emotion, and memory, they fundamentally influence a consumer towards making a response, purchase response decision. So we have discussed this aspect in the last session. So we would be looking at the model of consumer behavior per se as to what happens and how does a consumer behave. This is the starting point towards understanding the consumer behavior, which happens to be the stimulus response model. So this model happens to be uh, nomenclated as the stimulus and response model. So you see, we start with something called as the marketing stimuli. That is the factors which are influencing the consumer make a decision. Now, when you're talking about the key psychological processes, you have to understand that what happens. This is exactly what happens in the mind of a consumer when he or she decides to make a purchase decision. Of course, this has been mapped in a series of a sequential process, but this is how the entire cognition happens inside a mind of a consumer when he or she decides to make a purchase decision. I would like to just ask a small query from those of you who have joined the session today, especially the HA students, MBA Hospital Administration students. Can I seek a voice response from all of you, the HA students, any of you who has joined the link today? Hello. Is
Sir,
any
I don't
of,
think we have hospital administration students along with us today.
yes, thank you very much. I wanted to have a voice confirmation from any of the HA students if they have joined today, because I see about 54 of you. So I believe the links were shared, because I wanted to ask them if the link was shared with the HA students, because a separate group has not been communicated to me, and this is going to create a logistic issue if they have not connected. So any HA student out here, please speak up. You can unmute yourself and please speak up for yourself. Any HA student who has joined today's session, marketing management session, please, I need to know if you have joined the session, because I believe this would be your first session. I need a voice confirmation, please. Any of you who happens to be admitted to the MBA HA program and has joined the session and have joined this session, please speak up, unmute your microphone and please speak up. So I doubt if any of them have joined because none of them are speaking up. So we have the standard session, which exactly is there. Nonetheless, let's continue without wasting much time. So effectively, when we're looking at the marketing stimuli, we basically are looking at the four marketing mixes, which exactly we had discussed earlier. That is product, price, place, and promotion. Now, these exactly are the visible entity or the non-visible entity, which exactly we are communicated in the form of the physical solution of the products and services, which exactly uh, are interacting with us at all the levels, and that in the entire ecosystem, which exactly helps us make a purchase decision. Now, effectively, when we are looking at this important dimension, we would be triggered with some other stimuli as well beyond the four marketing mix, which exactly are generally environmental contexts. So effectively, within the frame of the environment, we are challenged with something like called as the economic environment, the technological environment, the political environment, or the cultural environment. Now, a mix of these two, that is the right set of products and services, the price, the process that of the distribution or the communication, coupled with these environmental forces, they help a consumer uh, define something which exactly is called as the consumer uh, characteristics as well as the consumer psychology. Because a consumer will have a specific type of a makeup. Now, this makeup is defined in terms of the cultural makeup, the social makeup, as well as the personal makeup. That is what exactly is the cultural entity, the personal entity, as well as the social entity of the consumer. And then what exactly is going inside the consumer's mindset, that is when he is influenced by these different marketing stimuli and environmental stimuli. So effectively the person is, as I said, uh, the aspects towards the key psychological processes, that there is motivation, there is memory, there are certain emotions, there is learning and perception that actually kicks in. So effectively a combination of the consumer psychology as well as the consumer makeup, that is the characteristics, they help a customer when he or she is influenced by the different marketing forces as well as the environmental forces to take a specific type of a buying decision. Now, this buying decision per se is actually what happens in a marketing frame. That is, there are a sequential step of processes that goes into the buying decision process. So it starts with something called as problem recognition. That is, the person recognizes the problem that he or she is actually faces and then tries to search for a solution to that specific type of a problem in terms of different type of solution providers, which exactly are what exactly they're looking for purchasing. Then once they have looked at the different type of alternatives that they exactly do an evaluation of those alternatives and decide to go for a purchase decision to purchase those alternatives. And then they exhibit something which is called as the post-purchase behavior. That is how exactly they are satisfied with their expectation, whether their perception that they had or the expectation that they had, that the offer actually when they purchased, did it match? Did it live it up to them, or was it beyond it or below their expectation? And then they decide to look into narrowing down the buying decision process into making actually a purchase decision, which exactly is a product choice. After choosing the product, they look for the different type of brands that exactly are available. Once they have narrowed on the specific type of a brand, they would look as to where to buy the product from, whether they're going to buy it online or whether they're going to try to buy it offline, or whether they're going to buy it from somebody near their home, or whether they're going to look at an alternative which exactly is away from their home but offering them a better type of a deal. So all these factors are towards deciding the source from where they're going to purchase the product. Also, they're going to be looking at the size of the investment in terms of the purchase amount, when they are going to purchase, and the payment method that they shall be incorporating. So these are associated with the purchase decision. So it starts with the marketing stimuli. It is fueled by other stimuli. which actually impact the consumer characteristic as well as the consumer psychology, which helps them, leads them to the buying decision process. The buying decision process is a sequence of steps starting from problem recognition to the post-purchase behavior, and then finally the purchase decision happening, which results from deciding on the product, narrowing down to the specific type of a brand, looking at the specified dealer where basically they intend to be making a purchase decision from, and then finally looking at the purchase timing and the method of purchase. That is how exactly they intend to be making a specified purchase. Now you must understand that at any point of time, there are all these elements which exactly play a key role in the purchase decision, and the behavior is influenced. The consumer's behavior is influenced. So let's start looking at the different type of dimensions one by one. Specifically, we know about the marketing mix. We know about the entire dimension that is associated with the different type of environmental factors because we've already looked into this. But let us look into the consumer psychology per se, the key psychological processes. Now, the first factor, as I said, is something which is called as motivation. The of the five factors, what exactly is the motivation? Now, the need becomes a motive when it is aroused to a sufficient level of intensity to drive us to act. So, when basically we are propelled to make a specific, this intensity forces us to make a action, then basically this is called as motivation. So let's say, for example, I'll give you a very interesting caselet at this point of time. This is called about a company called as Chrysler. They were into the automotive majors of the UK, US. Now, when Chrysler decided to offer a new sedan, it had already done a great deal of traditional marketing research that suggested that the US consumers, they wanted excellent gas, mileage, uh, safety, and price. These are the key factors, the key success factors that is basically required by the American consumers in their automobile. However, it was only through qualitative research that Chrysler discovered what cultural anthropologist, that is Choter Repiel, calls the code, the unconscious meaning people give to a particular market offering. First, interviewers took on the role of a visitor from another planet, asking participants to help them understand the product in question. So, effectively, they decided to create a sort of a process where the consumer actually tries to make a person who's unknown about the product define what is a product that they actually are looking for purchasing themselves. Then participants told stories about the product, and finally, after relaxation exercise, they wrote about the first experience with it. In this way, Chrysler learned the cookie cutter sedans were off the code. So effectively, it was transformed from the session to create a PT Cruiser, which is a highly distinctive retro design. This sedan was one of the most successful US car launches in the recent history. So effectively, what a consumer tells you and what a consumer wants, there's a lot of difference between that. So basically, a consumer may not itself know how to word the type of needs that they want. So we have to actually extract what exactly are the motivating factors that go into the mind of a consumer when he or she is looking for a specific type of a solution to the problem that they have identified. So many times they know the answer, but many times they really don't know what is the problem per se. So you have to go one step further to try to look at it. Now, this factor towards motivation, you must be hearing from it on the different type of theories which exactly are associated with motivation. We have the Freud's theory, which is behavior is guided by the subconscious motivation, which was given by Sigmund Freud. Then we have the Maslow's need theory. You have seen the Maslow's hierarchy, the pyramid, where basically you have the different type of behavior which is driven by the lowest or the unmet need, which exactly at the bottom of the pyramid. And then we have got the Herzberg's two factor theory, behavior is guided by dissatisfiers as well as satisfiers. So effectively, this is something about motivation which exactly has propelled towards deciding what exactly we need to. Now, if you're looking at this type of a pyramid, which exactly is here, we know that at the bottom of the pyramid, we have got psychological needs like food, water, shelter. Then we are at the next level of pyramid, we've got safety needs like security and protection. The third need is called the social need, which is about belonging, love, association. The fourth happens to be the esteem needs, which is self-esteem, recognition, and the fifth happens to be the self-actualization need. So definitely people would try to move in from the bottom to the top. That is, a starving man need not be looking at the social recognition, but rather the first need is the food and the water and the shelter, which exactly happens to be the first need. And then when he has that, he would look at the next level, that is, he would want a clean air. And then when he has got enough he would food and water, the next most important thing would become as specified needs. So this is how exactly it goes. So coming back to the key psychological processes, one of them happens to be motivation, the second happens to be something which is called as perception. Now perception actually is the process by which we select, organize, and interpret information inputs to create a meaningful picture of the world. Now, like for example, here, if you can see, you're finding it as an orange juice, which exactly has been presented. But if you are looking at the aspect of perception, when I say orange, am I meaning a fruit? Am I meaning a juice? Or am I meaning a color? So effectively, it's basically the process by which we select, organize, and interpret information input to create a meaningful picture in the world. So how influenced you are by your perception of the situation is an important key aspect. So in marketing, perceptions are more important than reality because it affects the consumer's actual behavior. So effectively, we have to create the right set of perception in order to actually motivate a person. So motivation and perception, they both are responsible, the key psychological processes, because when a person is motivated, he or when a person is having a right level of perception, he would try to exercise the aspect towards making a choice decision. Now towards this perception also, we have got selective attention, we have got selective distortion, we have got selective retention, and we have got subliminal perception. So effectively, people towards selective attention, people want to actually give attention to things that they are having their current need for. So let's say people are more likely to notice stimuli that is related to their current need. So let's say, for example, if a person has a stronger need for a specific thing, so they are going this they're going to look at their antennas are going to catch signals about that specific information about that specific need at the first level. Then there are people more likely to notice stimuli than they anticipate. That is, you will notice about different type of computers than radios in the computer store, because you don't expect the store to carry radios. So let's say, for example, if you want to buy a computer and you go to a specific store, so what you actually want is what you will see more often. Okay, and that exactly is the marketer's job, to give the right level of signals in order to propel a person's perception, to tell them that look, this is what you need and this is what we exactly have to offer. The third important aspect is to notice the stimuli whose uh, whose actually deviations are large in relationship to the normal size of the stimuli. So let's say, for example, if you look at an ad which says about 90% off the list, you basically are going to be more motivated by that ad than which says 2 rupees, 250 rupees off. So let's say, for example, 90% actually catches your attention when there's a second ad which says 250 rupees off. So effectively, you basically are targeting your size of the stimuli, because your deviation are large in relationship to the normal size of the stimuli. So effectively, these exactly happen to be towards the selective attention type of it, which exactly we will be discussing. And then we've got something which is called as selective distortion. Now, what exactly we mean by selective distortion is that even there are those stimuli are noticed that don't always come across at the center. Like for example, these help us distort the type of stimuli that we're basically looking from. Like for example, our belief with a past brand that we have been using, a prior brand that we have been using, a prior product that we have been using, a prior our what exactly is the type of reaction that we've had with those type of products and services. They basically help us distort our perception and decision. So let's say for example, if you have been using a mobile phone which basically the battery does not last for more than a day, so effectively you will, this is going to be an important factor which exactly is going to fuel your perception that mobile phone batteries don't last for more than a day. Now this perception can trigger a new sort of a need, that is you want probably a phone where the battery lasts for more than 2 days or 3 days. So effectively that can be a key selling point for a marketer to decide to address to this aspect, which is called as the selective distortion. Then there is something which exactly is called as the selective retention. That is, we like to uh, remember and we like to forget certain good points about the competing product. So we like to remember certain good points and we like to forget about certain things basic, or basically we are very selective with our retention. We are very choosy and we want to be very careful about what we want to retain and what we want to reject. And then finally, we have got something called as the subliminal perception. Now, that is the marketeers, they argue that it's clear that the mental process, it has many subtle subconscious effects. Like, for example, we would be looking at the change moderately or strongly held beliefs. So let's say, for example, if we've got a very a strong belief about certain things and the product actually is in line with the strong belief that we have, then we would let certain other factors go away because this is aligned to our belief system. So effectively this is how perception actually plays a role. Then the next important psychological process happens to be learning. Now learning induces change in our behavior arising from the experience. So whatever we have experienced, our behavior would change from the experience that we've had. There are certain strong and the weak influences which are called as drives and cues. And then there is something which exactly these that, because a drive is a strong internal stimulus which forces us to act, while cues are minor stimulus and they determine when, how, and when to respond and how a person will respond. So let's say, for example, the need for a product can be a sort of a drive, and then where we are going to purchase it from or when we are going to purchase it is basically a queue. So effectively, these exactly happen to be the key components of something which is called as learning. Also, we've got two important dimensions of learning, which is called as generalization and discrimination. So effectively, then we have got something which is called as emotions. Now, emotions can be linked to different type of brands. Like for example, if you remember the uh, flavor of the toothpaste that you actually use for brushing, that basically links you to a certain type of feelings or emotions that could be there or could be reminding, or the perfume that exactly you are or the aroma of certain type of food, or let's say it would be reminding you of a past experience that you've had or a picnic that you've had. So that would be reminding you of the entire environment where basically this sort of sensory signals actually are linked to, and they basically trigger certain type of emotions. So effectively different kind of emotions can be linked to different type of brands, and that is basically a very important where these emotions play a vital role in deciding the type of a brand or a product that you exactly want to purchase. Now, memory also happens to be an important key psychological processes. Now, memory can be short-term versus long-term memory. That is a very recent type of an experience versus a learned type of a behavior, that basically a loyal behavior that you are trying to exhibit over a long term of association with the product or the service. Then there is something which is called as the associated network memory model, the brand association, memory encoding, and the memory retrieval. Now, this brings us to the buying decision process. How exactly does the consumer go through the 5 stages of the buying decision process? It starts with the problem recognition. So how do you recognize a specific type of a problem? Then you decide to look at the search, how to solve this problem. Now this basically involves the information search. And then finally, when you have come to different type of alternatives for solving the problem, you look to evaluate these different type of alternatives and then go for a final purchase decision. When you have gone through the purchase decision, you would actually end up looking at the post-purchase behavior. So let us start with the problem stages, the first being the buying decision process. So the problem recognition, that is the consumer recognizes the problem need, and this problem has been triggered by the external stimuli. So let's say, for example, when you have a normal need like food, hunger, thirst, they actually cross a threshold level and become a drive. So when you basically are hungry, a type of you can sustain a hunger for a specific period of time, but then after a certain time, when it crosses the threshold, it becomes actually a drive. So this need is aroused by the external. Then I have got the picture of a burger which exactly is being presented, or a soft drink which exactly is being presented. The marketeers, they need to identify the circumstances that trigger a particular need by getting the information from a number of consumers, and they can develop a marketing strategies to spark the consumer interest. Now, all of you must have seen some sort of a product which is called the Visi Cooler. That is a refrigerator in selling soft drinks, which has a glass front. That is, this exactly has a transparent front. That is the door of this refrigerator is transparent. It's a glass front. Now, this basically is designed in order to create a need, the problem recognition. So let's say, for example, if it's a hot summer month and all of a sudden you see that this product, which exactly has been stacked by colored cold drinks, and these colored cold drinks, now this is lit, the light is glowing inside, and then it is packed with ice. So basically this creates a sort of a trigger because you are thirsty and you can visually see a ice box which has been loaded with ice and colored soft drinks which exactly are there. So they're basically very inviting and very enticing about the type of, and it triggers your thirst needs. So effectively this is a sort of a stimuli which has been created at the market and has been marketed in order to trigger your need, so that you basically the problem, it becomes more than just your basic need of thirst, and this forces you to actually drives you to make a purchase decision. And this exactly is how this sort of a Visi Cooler is actually marketed. So then we come to looking for certain type of buying decision process. Now buying decision process involves something called as the information search. So there are personal sources, commercial sources, public sources, and experiential sources, which basically help in doing the information search. Now, there are certain sets involved in decision making. Now, let's say, for example, you want to buy a computer. Now, let us look at the total set of computers which are exactly are there in the universe or near you. It could be a a MacBook, and the brand could be Apple. There could be Dell. There could be IBM. There could be Hewlett Packard. There could be Toshiba. There could be Lenovo, IBM Lenovo. There could be Compaq. There could be NEC. There could be a number of brands which could be there. So now this is there in the universe. So the universe has all, and there would be many more brands. That is where the biggest block has been there on the left side, comprising of a total set. Now the idea is how many of them you are aware about, your awareness set. So let's say, for example, so this is a smaller block, and this block says that MacBook is there, then Dell is there, Hewlett Packard is there, Toshiba is there, Compaq is there, Lenovo is there. So these are the awareness set. So now you are aware about these products. Now you want to consider, you want to make a consider, you want to make a choice about the different type of products from the products that you are aware about. So the consideration set would be still smaller, and this would consist of, now you zeroed in on three products, that is Apple, Dell, and Toshiba. So now one of them is Apple, Dell, and Toshiba. So these are the three that is exactly in your consideration set. And then you want to make a choice. So when you were making a choice, you will leave out Toshiba. You will decide on one of the choice sets, that is Apple or Dell. Now, depending upon what exactly is your requirement, you would select one of the products from among them. So that is your decision. So this is how we narrow down our decision or the sets involved in decision making. So coming down to the buying process. Now, let's say the same example in terms of the computers, with the consumer's brand belief and the laptop computers that we want to. Now, this is called as the evaluation of alternatives or the expectancy value model. So let's say, for example, there are four laptops, which is called as A, B, C, D, E. These are the brands of the laptops on the in the first column, the laptop computers and the attributes. Now, attributes, I have got things like, let's say, the memory. How much amount of memory is there, the capacity of the memory, or the graphics capability, or the size and weight, and the price. These are the four important attributes that are there. Now, for brand A, let's say there's a brand A, the memory is about, it's good, about 8 units, I would give out of 10. The graphics, it's very good. For graphics, it's about 9. The size and weight is 6. That is, it is a bit bulky. Not very bulky, but somewhere like of a standard size 6. Size and weight, it's comparatively 6, and then the price is very high. The price is 9, a very high price. This is probably the first set which exactly is there. So what we are going to doing is, this is the type of score that is there for the first one. If you're looking at the second score, that is exactly the second type of machine. This has got 7 in terms of memory, lesser than B. Graphics is also less. The weight is better, because earlier the weight and size was 6. Now this weight is better, and the price is also less. So it is cheaper than the price which is offered by the brand A. So if you're looking at this, you will find that this is actually a more economic and a smaller change is there in terms of memory, graphics, but there's an increased change in terms of price, because the price is much cheaper. So let's say, for example, the price in the first case was costly, but here the price was cheaper. So effectively, B happens to be a more economic choice or a better choice than when A is concerned in terms of money terms. But let's look at a product called as C. Now, product C has a very high memory capacity. It is basically designed for a specific, but the graphics, it compromises on the graphics capability. Okay, memory capacity may be high, but graphics capacity is low. If you're looking at the size and weight, then it is bad on size and weight. It is very bulky because it has got a value called 3, but the price is also very, very cheap. So effectively, this can be used for a data entry processes, where basically a lot of graphic capability is not required. Probably you can compromise on the size, and then you can buy it in bulk because the price is only 2 compared to 9, which is offered by brand A. And it has a huge amount of memory capacity, which is probably required for a specified type of an operation that you intend to be doing. So bankers would try to purchase this product per se. So this can be a choice. So let's say, for example, if I say A happens to be something like a MacBook, so C would be Dell. That basically is there. Now let us look at, because this is a customized product which has a higher memory capacity, even higher than A. Now let us look at D, an offering called as D. Now D has a average memory capacity. Uh, D has got very little graphics capability, but then D has a very efficient size and weight. and then it is also priceless. So it could be more of a laptop that you can carry to your different type of work settings. So you can actually be carrying it for your work settings, where basically the price is also very economical. It is not very less, not very more. It is nearly half the price of the brand A that exactly is there. The size and weight, it is very good on size and weight. It's very mobile, very efficient, very small in size, so you can actually carry it to places. It does not has high amount of graphic capability, so you don't need a lot of graphic functions for that. It basically just offers you a very minimal graphic capability, but then it has got an average memory capacity. So effectively, on the basis of these type of comparison of the attributes and the different type of offerings in terms of brand, you can make actually a purchase decision towards the different type of products that you want to actually purchase. Then there is something which is called as the purchase decision, that is compensatory versus non-compensatory model. Now, this aspect is, let's say, for example, there are certain type of compensatory and non-compensatory models, which exactly, like for example, uses three dimensions. Like first is conjunctive heuristics. The second is called as a lexicographic heuristics. And then the third happens to be elimination by aspect heuristics. So let us look at what exactly we mean by conjunctive heuristics. So a consumer sets a minimum acceptable cutoff level for each attribute and chooses the first alternative that meets the minimum standard for all attributes. Example, let's say you want to buy a product uh, which has a rate of at least 7. So you would choose a laptop if you want to buy a product which has at least 7. So you would choose a laptop which exactly has brand B, because you will say at least I want something 7. So you can go for B or A because A matches your concern, but then size and weight is 6. So since 7 is a criteria that you have kept, that kam se kam 7 hona chahiye for making a purchase decision for all the attributes. 7 is something that you have kept as a benchmark for any sort of attribute that you want. And so on the basis of this, you will make a selection of brand B. So this exactly is what is meant by conjunctive heuristics. Then let us look at something which is called the lexicographic heuristics. So the consumer chooses the best brand on the basis of the perceived most important attribute. Now, with this decision rule, you will choose the brand which is called as C. So you see, because according to you, this is the best in terms of memory capacity. Okay, brand C is best in terms of memory capacity. Then if you're looking at graphics capability, it is not there. Size and weight, it is not there. But price is also a best because it is the cheapest according to you. Size and weight, it is not much. So effectively, two factors are the highest rating over here. One of them is memory capacity, and the second of them is price, because price is the cheapest and the memory capacity is the highest in the entire options which exactly are there. So according to this aspect, that is the lexicographic heuristics, you are going to make a choice which is called as brand C. Then let us look exactly at what we mean by the elimination by aspect heuristic. The consumer actually ends up comparing the different brands on the attribute selected probabilistically. So where the probability of choosing an attribute is positively related to its importance. So elimination of the brands that do not meet the minimum capability of the outfit. Now, elimination by aspect heuristics is again a specified type of a requirement by a specified type of a customer. So let's say, for example, there's a customer who basically is more of a person who's traveling, who's actually traveling lots of time. So definitely weight and size is an important contribution for him because he wants to carry the laptop along with him. So he does not want bulky product. So he may compromise on graphics, but he would like to be carrying the product everywhere that he goes. So weight and size happens to be an important consideration. Memory also, because he needs to do some level of number crunching or data entry. So that also is something where basically he can transmit the data to a different cloud server for storage or other things. So he can bypass storage or graphics, or price is also something which is a very important consideration. It will not be too cheap, it will not be too expensive, but portability happens to be his concern. So then he would go for D. So he would going to reject the other products on the basis of their factors, which exactly it. So, but there's a person who's a banker who wants to do more of number crunching, and or a chartered accountant. He basically needs more of memory capacity and does not need graphic capacity. He can even compromise on size and weight, and but he needs a product at an economic price. So he is going to discount the other goods, other brands on the basis of the capacity products that exactly. So he would eliminate by aspects of heuristics on the basis of the product that he or she would like to actually buy. Then there are certain type of other factors which are called as intervening factors. So these intervening factors, they start with evaluation of alternatives. That is, what are the different type of alternatives that you have, and then on the basis of these alternatives you make a purchase intention. And then when you have made an intention, you are actually triggered by attitude of others as well. What others are thinking about the purchase decision that you intend to make about the different type of products that you. And then there are unanticipated social situational factors. So let's say, for example, instantly there's a discount which has been given, or there's a free home delivery, or there's an extended warranty that has been given, or you are the first 10 customers get this product at a 50% discount. These are unanticipated situation, or you get a product plus uh, another product free with this product. So all these are unanticipated situational factors which exactly, and the attitude of others, they actually kick in to make a purchase decision. So these are beyond your set of prerequisite requirement on the basis of which you base your needs for the solution in terms of products and services, but rather these are the intervening factors that actually kick in. Now, at this point of time, I would like to know, how much time do we have left for this session? Can somebody just tell me, or are we done?
We are done. Sir, we are
Yes,
over.
Okay,
sir. Sir, we are done.
yes, I am really sorry for overstepping. So we would look into a small, very interesting case study in the next class. That is something about the rural consumer behavior. So we would be taking up this caselet in the context of the intervening factors towards the purchase decision that a consumer